My friends, welcome back to another episode of Hermitcraft. I am in the nether, obviously. I am here because we need nether warts, and look at this, there's just a great way for an early farm, right? So yeah, Jevin found this soul sand valley and just spammed all of the nether warts down. And this is one of the problems with this place though. Uh-oh, I'm in big trouble. I'm dead. And now I have successfully recovered, but I guess that death serves me right for not wearing my armor. And it's a really great idea for an early game farm just to spam all the nether warts over the soul sand that's already in the nether, but as you saw, we need a much more peaceful place to farm our nether warts, so I built myself a quick and simple little nether wart cave over here. But the question on your mind is, why the nether warts? Well, it's pretty simple. We need them for building materials. Later on in this episode, we're going to construct something absolutely magnificent, and I have been out there collecting all sorts of supplies that we're going to need to create it. But before we get to any of that, we need to talk about some things that I've seen on my travels. After I died, I needed to get all my things back together. I had to hop over to the base here and grab a backup pair of elytra and whatnot. And we've actually got a nice little message from Falsey. Welcome to the neighborhood. She's dropped us off a Falsey egg. But that was not all that I noticed, and you may have noticed it too. Something funky on the outside here. And I have a feeling that it may be Falsey herself who is the perpetrator? Perpetrator? Am I saying that correctly? A modification has been made to Hermitcraft's most prankable base. This, my friends, this was simply inevitable. It's Beats by Dre, or should I say Beats by False. Now, False joined us back in Season 2 of Hermitcraft, and this is actually like a major throwback to Monkey Farm's base. It is always good to have an excuse to go back to a previous Hermitcraft season, and here we are in the communal area, and that is Monkey Farm's base. Such an iconic base, and these glasses, I think False actually built them about the same size in front of mine, but it goes to show how much bigger the skull we've built this season is. And now I need to declare Horse Mountain. For some reason there is just a lot of horses on top of this spot, the opposite side from False's area. Look, there's loads of them. And there's something moving. There's something moving over there. Hang on. What do I see? Oh my goodness me! Oh, it's an axolotl hanging out. Look at that. Oh, there is one in the other side too. This is actually perfect. I happen to be in need of axolotls today. Let me explain. We are in the process of collecting a whole bunch of materials for a build, and one of the things that I really need is a lot of ink sacs. So over on my creative server, I took a copy of the witch farm and looked at the AFK spot to see how much of the water over here I would actually need to remove. And that's because there are rivers, and that means squid can spawn here. So in order to figure out where this circle would be, I had to use the hollow cylinder command to create rings around the witch farm. And eventually I found the correct size, the place that we would need to build a ring to remove the water on the inside. So once I had the circle in the right space, I then used Litematica to create a schematic of that circle itself. We could then bring that onto the Hermitcraft server and use it to put blocks in the right place. Aha, so here on Hermitcraft I have been placing lots of sand. If I turn the rendering of Litematica off and on, you can see how those guidelines help me drop all of the sand into the space. Now, the trick is we need to remove all of this water so that we can build a squid farm in the river biome over in this corner. And that is where these axolotls may come in handy, because we used them to raid an ocean monument earlier in the season, and all I got was one measly sponge. So thank you for the gift, False. I love the glasses, I love the headphones, and we get axolotls too. Before we go on our adventure though, I want to swoop on into the ribcage, because I've actually been manually harvesting some ink sacs, and that enabled me to build the top of the ribcage, and you can start to see some of the magic of this place now. So this is going to be like a giant black arena that we fly into, where all we see are the bones of the ribcage itself. And now that I've placed all of the blocks up the top there, you can see the magic of the illusion of this place starting to come together. So as I ascend up top to the black concrete that I've used to create this illusion, you can see even when you're close to it and there's light here, it's kind of hard to tell where it all starts and ends. There's also bits of glow liking to stop things from spawning on top of the bone blocks. And so the next trick now is to start to build out this darkness of the black concrete between each of the different ribs. And these spaces will eventually be opened up when we need them for me to fly into and then navigate to some other part of our base. And I want to show you how Litematica factors into this. If I turn on the rendering, now you can see some of the ghost blocks for where we need to put our bone blocks. And at the top here of the rib cage, the ribs are a little closer together, but as we head further down, they're going to space out a little more and make it much easier to fly into. But before I can really get anywhere with all of this grind, I need more ink sacs. And so first of all, we need sponges, and I needed axolotls, and False provided us with 2 of them. And the rest of the army we're going to bring with us, well, this place, formerly the shopping district that was going to be underground, now just a hunting ground for axolotls. Aha! So now I have flown a very long distance in search of, this over here. And I can't help but notice, but there's some sort of border all around here. Let's dive in and get close. Yeah, it looks like this hasn't generated properly. Okay, and now to break in using this classic trick. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. What's going on? There's 3 of them. Did I see 3 of them? Yeah, is there 4 or 3 of them? Why are there so many here? Well, I officially have 3 wet sponges, and I didn't use my axolotl friends because I figured they'd probably end up going outside here. Alright, do we have 3 more Elder Guardians in this part of the temple? The answer is absolutely yes, we do. We got 3 of them in here. And this time, I'm going to unleash the army to help us in this area. Well, that fight was over in less than a minute. I have now got 6 sponges at this point. We lost 7 brave souls on that expedition. So we got 6 axolotls left. And once again, 3 Elder Guardians in this area. Time to unleash the troops again. And just like that, we got 9 sponges. Although all of my axolotls are gone, they had a bad time down in this spot. Oh, here we go again. I found a sponge room. I mean, 9 was actually pretty good for this haul. That'd bring us up to 10, but now we've got a whole bunch more. And what would you know, right next door, a second sponge room. That is epic. That gives us over a stack of wet sponges, and as I understand it, there's usually no more than 2 sponge rooms in an ocean monument, unless you're incredibly, incredibly lucky, so I think we're just going to head straight out of here now. And just like that, we're heading back home. So, what's up with that, you might be wondering? How come we didn't drain all of the water here? So the plan is to build a squid farm for the ink sacs to turn them into black dye, because I need that for 2 building projects at the moment. And squids, well, they only spawn in rivers and oceans. So if we look to the top left of the screen, we are currently in the swamp biome. This bit here is then a river, as you can see, but when we go into this space where the watercolor is blue again, it is actually just desert. So the areas that I've carved out are for the river, and of course we don't want any squid spawning in there except in the farm that we're going to build. And this is going to be a unique farm. Like, I haven't seen one like this before, and I came up with a new way to make a really cool squid farm. But first of all, I just wanted to talk about 3D biomes. This is something that had been added into the game so that things like lush caves and drip caves could exist. And I went through the old method of just sort of standing on top of the block and then dropping it down when it changed from desert to river. But as I got further into this, I realized that when you go under the water, you can see now we're in the river biome again because the shape of the biome is now 3D and it's desert at the top. So that means that squid can technically spawn down here too. And in general, there's a few patches. It tends to be pretty close, like it's only going to be 1 or 2 blocks of difference from what it is at the top. But it means that I'm probably going to have to drop in a fair bit more sand around the edges to make this efficient. Oh, and our kitty cat managed to escape. I guess that guy decided to climb up the scaffolding here and then make its way over into the water. So my job now is to suss out where there's additional river biomes and just fill them up on these edges like so. And then after that, we can start construction of this farm, which is going to be a lot of fun because it's like a totally new and different design. But of course, the core principle is going to be the same. So if we add the despawn sphere for my AFK spot when I'm using the witch farm, you can now see exactly why this has been laid out the way it is. It looks like the size of the circle is actually incorrect here. So I must have got something wrong when working on the creative world and then bringing that over here to the survival world. But the good thing is it's only the river biome that we're after, really. This circle was technically not even necessary, but I just decided to build it anyway. Oh, and look at that. Look, see, we've got a squid on this side of the barrier because there's still river biomes over there. So realistically, I only have to target a few spots like this and expand it outwards. And it's just going to make that beautiful circle that we made look a little more ugly, I guess. And I'll tell you what, it would be madness to just fill this out top to bottom with sand when it's really just a couple of blocks. So all the way around this side, it is river. And we're just going to fill it in like this with some sandstone. So here I am, expanding the borders, thinking, wouldn't it be nice? Well, it turns out it is nice, because MiniHUD actually has a feature for showing you the layout of the biomes. And this is in 3D, so now we can see the 3D shape of the biome. You can kind of see where I've missed one just here, actually. But yeah, that's going to be a huge time saver. It's also really fascinating just to see how the biomes are generated with this 3D shape now. Oh, and when it comes to drying your sponges, this is the way. And this is going to be our squid farm. Now these rails are not for collecting items, they are for collecting the squids themselves. So they're going to end up being waterlogged in the area in which the squids spawn. And I've never seen a farm done like this before, so I had to do loads of testing myself. And one of the things that I learned early on is that you need to have your powered rails pretty close together because those minecarts are going to slow down when on regular rails. Also, that's not a squid. Oh, I see. It's Mr. Kitty Cat. I thought it might have been a squid. I thought I might have missed a spot out here. So you should see where this is going. We are now here to waterlog all of these rails and then fill this entire space up with water. And so now either side of the rails I've built some crafty contraptions to deal with the squid, but this is a very good site. They are spawning inside of that area. And so now you might just be starting to understand the magic of this farm, how it's different from other types that you might have seen before. It's about picking up the squids and dropping them off outside. You just stop that minecart in its tracks, dude. Okay, I knew this concept was kind of flawed and that I'd occasionally need to come back down and bump things, although it seems to have made its own way along. And just out there you can see what's going on. This is so cool. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. And that is the last of our minecarts. So wherever the squid spawn, eventually they just kind of wander into the bottom area where the rails are. They get picked up. This guy is playing a game of dodge. Ah, but you did not succeed. And so here on the outside, it just got dumped on top of this trapdoor with a hopper underneath. And so eventually it starts to suffocate, and then when it dies, the hopper picks up all of the items. And because this is an array, you know, they make their way down to the end. How cool is that? And so what we have here is an important combination of blocks, mainly the activator rail and then the soul sand, and also these blocks that power them up top stop the squid from getting kicked out onto where the rails was, which was an issue that I had when designing this farm. I went through so many different ideas before I came up with this. And so each and every side of the activator rail is a trapdoor for a squid to fall on. And what's interesting is that if two squid try to fall on the same trapdoor, it actually lets them just sit on it together, which means that this thing just perpetually works, I guess. And so the one flaw that I did see is that occasionally the minecarts would sort of stop. It does seem like other ones can then nudge them on their way if there's a squid inside. So occasionally I might need to fly down here and fix things. But the next trick now is to simply have an AFK session, and this has been built around me standing here. We should now only get squids spawning inside of our farm, which you can see happening right now. So this footage is sped up 60 times over, and you can see that the farm is clearly flawed. Sometimes the minecarts get stuck, and the squid can sort of hang around in a spot for a long time. It's not until they move and collide with a minecart that they then get picked up. But otherwise, it is working, and we have got some ink sacs. Now what's interesting is here on the left-hand side of the farm, we actually get way more ink sacs than we do over on the right. On this side, we have a significant amount less. And my theory here is that this side is closer to the player, and this side is closer to where they would instantly despawn. So because of that, I think when they're sitting on top of the trapdoors, they end up despawning. So in an ideal world, this farm would be underneath the player directly, but look, it doesn't have to be the most efficient thing ever, right? We have got more ink sacs than I know what to do with right now. That being said, I do know what to do with them. I need them for builds like this, and as you can see, I brought the ribcage down to a new area. Although it's mostly bone blocks, it's just in the creeks at the back here that we put in the black concrete, and dang, doesn't it just look so amazing? But this is just a small portion, which has taken me hours, and we've got many, many more ribs to build. I was curious. I was wondering, well, how far down does this go? And, well, that's how far down it goes. Looks like I misplaced the beacon, which was supposed to be outside of the schematic, and when we do this, you can see that this is where the placing of the bone blocks kind of ends. But the overall structure, I can't remember if the bones sort of like dip down off the sides or go up, but I mean, oh my days. Just look at this, chest after chest after chest, filled to the brim with resources from this dig here. It has been insane. Oh, and this room right here, this is where my storage system is going to eventually go. And ever since I've been munching on this tasty, tasty bone meal, I've noticed that, well, my skin keeps changing, right? I have been feeling a change within me, and I need to make my presence known here in the commercial area of Hermitcraft, where the shops are, popping up, and they are very eye-catching. And one of the things that makes them eye-catching is height. You want that eye line. Wherever you are in the city, you want to be able to see the various different places you can visit. And I have had my eye up on this hill over here. It pops out, even though, it's not actually a building yet. So putting something up there is going to be rather visible. And so, being the one that has all the bones, I mean, I live inside of a giant skeleton. I eat this stuff all the time. You know I'm going to be selling something bony. But in order to do that, I need to reach up out of the ground and grab the attention of the other hermits. And I have some humble beginnings here of a foundation for something we shall construct. You can also see some markings of dirt that I've started to build up, as we'll need to raise the terrain around here, which will give us a big basement we can take advantage of. But yes, it is here that the construction shall now begin. And so from the depths below of Hermitcraft itself, the skeletal remains of a beast stretches out its arm in command of some mysterious, bony magic. And with this grasping of the claw, I feel myself undergoing a change, a transformation. It would seem that I am no longer the hermit that I once was. The bones, they have transformed me. And this right here, well, it's just what it is for now. There is no shop. We have an incredibly enticing view to bring the hermits in, but, you know, I always do things in the wrong order, right? There is no shop here yet. And the build itself isn't quite finished yet. As I alluded to, there's going to be more construction on this side, a little bit more over on that side. We're going to need to, like, transform the area in front too. And over here we now have pathways and roads connecting up some of the shops that already exist, and I can see a rickety staircase made of bones going its way up the hills here, leading to our... well, I'll let you decide what this thing is going to be called. And this marvelous construction was put together by Blaze85, who you may remember contributed a build last season to the Evil Empire. So I reached out to Blaze and I pitched the idea for this shop that I could see in my mind's eye, so to speak, and Blaze was able to put it together in amazing, amazing style here. And you've only seen the beginning of this build so far. There is more to come your way. So this episode, we were obviously pranked at the beginning, and then we worked on our squid farm. It was an unusual design, but it used some different mechanics to normal, and you might be able to actually see here the last part of this that I did that wasn't in the time lapse, putting in some red nether bricks, red glass, and some black concrete up the back there. So that's why we needed that farm. We also used the black concrete over in the rib cage, and it's all in all been a really great episode. So if you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, and I'll see you soon with another one.